the founder and CEO of Connex. And today I'm talking with Zufia of the Omaldi Group. Zufia is an local AI expert in the Boston area. And Zufia, I want to thank you for joining our podcast for today. Let's talk a little bit about AI and tech support and pain points. From your perspective, what are the biggest friction points companies face when supporting customers, especially when it comes to like legacy systems, fragmented data, or scaling with AI?
100%. Thank you so much for having me here, Joe. Happy to be here. Absolutely. That's a really good topic. And I see companies struggle with it all the time because everybody wants to onboard AI and everybody wants, the magic that AI could offer. But then when it comes to the implementation, we start looking at the systems. AI is no good without the data, without the proper access to that data. And you know this very well. We need all developer access, the backend access. And you're right. We find ourselves often working with clients that have siloed data or don't have public APIs, application programming interface, basically ability to talk to data on the backend. And that's an often issue. So sometimes there are different paths that we take. We help them to find another system that they need to migrate to, depending on at what scale, at what they are at, they make that decision.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of siloed data. Here at Connex, we have an e-commerce analytics tool that takes data from various sources like QuickBooks, Shopify, and Amazon, and puts it together to give real-time insights into sales and profitability and when to reorder certain products. Many companies have disparate systems of CRMs, accounting, selling channels, and I agree with AI and tech support. They can pull this data from various places, aggregate it, and can make the decision. So let me give you a follow-up question, Zufia. Was there ever a moment when AI-driven tech support initiative completely failed or wildly outperformed expectations? And what was the lesson there?
Absolutely. And they fail usually because, so a couple of things. There's still the stigma, right? There's a lot of marketing hype that AI could do everything for you. However, when it comes again to implementation, it's a process. It's review systems, it's outlining the workflows, it's figuring out where is that repetitive processes and what happens from step 1 to step 5, let's say. And when we're talking about the support and technical support, we actually built the AI agent that aggregated multiple data sources from multiple systems, as well as, for example, internal PDFs that the company had, internal knowledge base, as well as also had access to their ticketing system, has access to their cost of usage system. And I think the misconcept is that AI should be looked at almost like a virtual employee. When you onboard it, that virtual employee needs training on your data, on the products and services that you provide, on the clients that you service, on your policies and guidelines. And also it needs to be monitored through the time, and there's a performance reviews, right? The same thing with AI. So when AI needs to get exposure, large language models need to get exposure to different types of data sources that you're giving it access to. Now go learn it, but also you need to fine tune these models and give them feedbacks. All right, well, this response was not adequate. You should probably apply this response. So I would say the biggest misconception is that I'm just going to have AI come in and just figure it all out, and not having patience enough of training the data, of getting that feedback loop back and forth, and update and fine-tuning the data to make sure that you have a better outcomes when it comes to your responses as well. And I think once that's investment put in from, it involves time from the teams and time from standpoint, like identifying, all right, what's the role of this AI, what type of questions they need to be answering. And I mean, the investment, the ROI is incredible once it's in place.
Yes, I once used this chatbot for our corporate site to do sales and tech support, and we had to enter the URL of our help center, and it was able to crawl all the knowledge base articles. And when we asked the AI bot a question, what does Connex cost? Can you do this? Can you do that? The AI bot was able to answer like a human. I could also give the AI bot specific questions and answers. If a customer asked a question like, how do I update my credit card? I can tell the AI chatbot what specifically to say. So the AI chatbot, it's great because they can work off hours, like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, because we have customers that are West Coast or customers that do their accounting on the weekends, and the AI chatbot can be there collecting information, answering basic questions. I find sometimes that people, they don't want to talk to a salesperson. They don't want someone pushy, but an AI bot, it's less aggressive, I feel, so it's a little more approachable because it's just a robot. Whenever I think robots, I think Johnny Five, from the movie back in the 1980s. So I'm
Those
not
are
sure.
great points. Those
Yeah.
are great points. And actually, another thing that AI chatbots do very well, when you give the feedback to it, it has a memory, so it remembers it. So, and and it improves upon it. So that's another significant plus because it's consistently improving when you provide the feedback.
Yeah, I agree. AI is definitely great at learning new things, always hungry to learn. So let's talk a little bit about driving efficiency with AI. Automation and AI are often seen as magic bullets, but they don't always land. What kinds of AI initiatives have you implemented to improve support workflows, and which actually made a measurable impact?
Support workflows. I would say the low-hanging fruits are those repeat questions that every business has. Most businesses can identify, okay, these are my top 5, top 10 questions that every client is asking me. Either it's a new client or prospects that are asking me. And now we have people that we're trying to, either they're on vacation or someone is not at their desk, or the information that they saved about that client sporadically somewhere in the folders or somewhere on SharePoints, on Google Drives, on Slack messages. And I think the missed opportunity there is that AI could be that powerful internal knowledge that can aggregate data from these multiple sources. And when that person's not in, you don't have to break your head and figure out where the data is and scramble through. You can just quickly pull the information up and also respond to those same questions kind of like on auto, and provide more consistent responses across them as well. Like, have you noticed, Joe, sometimes when you ask support tickets, one person tells you another thing and then they tell you that's the fix, it doesn't work, then they try to get another person connected, they tell you another thing, and it's like you find yourself in hours, and now whatever that one person told you completely is irrelevant.
Yes, I agree. Sometimes different agents try different things. There might be 4 or 5 solutions to a particular problem before you finally find the solution. At least with the AI, I'm actually using this integration with multiple accounting systems, and they have an AI bot. And I'm telling the bot I'm getting these error codes, and it's able to respond. It's funny because I asked the AI chatbot a question, and I say, can I pull these orders by a date range? Give me orders from Monday to Wednesday. And the chatbot says, yes, it can be done. Here's the code. And then I ask a human being and they say, no, it's wrong. And then I ask a second human being and say, actually, that human was wrong. This is the proper answer. So sometimes the AI is more knowledgeable than some of the people. So I gave you that example where time and resources were wasted because I had to talk to 2 separate support people. How can AI reclaim time and resources wasted by businesses? You mentioned that AI can give sometimes the proper answer without having to do an escalation to someone with more knowledge.
Yes, that's a beautiful example that you just give, right? 2 people bounce off the information back and forth, and this is where the one that's where the AI shines. It acts as internal knowledge base agent when it aggregates all that data, and then also what it does every time there's a new way of solving this problem, it updates it. So, and then keeps everyone on consistent basis. I think that's another key. And another thing I would say is AI also does a predictive analytics. So it can also provide like, hey, in the past, this type of issue has been resolved due to this issue and usually takes about this much X amount of minutes to solve. And it can distribute that information across the technicians or across the responsible parties. So no more trying to figure out, okay, how did we fix this issue before? And let me go dig around in multiple systems. And what was the root cause of that issue? And how long did it take? You almost have now that helper that tells you and will help you to eradicate that repetitive issue and kind of go to that root cause. Okay, what really happened? How can we stop having that happen on a repetitive basis?
I'll give you an example. As you know, software changes over time, and
Yeah.
sometimes a team of people are not fully updated. So someone that came in, let's say in 2024, may have been taught our software, we can't pull invoices by a date range, and then 6 months later, a new employee was trained that yes, we can. So you have kind of more even training with the AI bot, whereas you have people that are not always updated or in sync. So speaking of organizational alignment, tech solutions are only as good as the people behind them. How does company culture shape the success of AI and support initiatives?
That's such a good question. And I think it comes from leadership. Leadership, educating their staff members, their team members, empowering them these tools, and kind of shifting a little bit I would say the perspective on it. Shifting perspective from something that the team members might be reluctant to try because they might think, oh, my job is going to be displaced or I'm no longer going to be needed, to the, okay, well, now I'm empowered. I don't have to scramble and find this information from my manager that's asking me, and it will put me in a position where I'm failing, for example, by providing incorrect information. So I think the leadership should be doing these trainings on the proper AI tools, and security is very important also, Joe, because we have right now curious people all over the world. They hands on AI, they hands on ChatGPTs, right? And I hear it all the time that they take the proprietary data and just plop it in ChatGPT and ask questions, right? Because there isn't a proper training in, say, that's come within the organization, what they can do, what they cannot do, what tools they can be used, for example, right, to make sure that their information is not floating around the internet with no oversight, with no policies around them. So I think it all comes to training. It comes to empowering, also changing the perspective on empowering their team members and telling them, you are learning this new marketable skill that's only going to be plus to you and only going to make you more valuable team member and also advance you in your career as well.
And have you seen any shifts in this mindset or structure that have made a real difference?
Yes, I have seen actually. I have seen companies investing in it, but I also have seen a lot of small businesses are curious about that because they have less, I would say, regulations and less, hierarchy that they have to go through. They're like, all right, everybody needs to get on board on this. Like, we need to learn, we need to optimize this, and actually looking at their processes and identifying where the bottlenecks are and trying to stay actionable as well around them.
So speaking of shifts in mindset, let's kind of take a look at sales strategy and customer journey. We've talked a lot about technical support. What role does AI play in smoothing the path from lead to loyal customer?
This is such a fantastic question. This is what I've seen with that AI does the best is shortening sales cycle. So what does that mean? Now the companies can do more volume of work, more productive. That means generating more money with the existing resources. So they can 10x their sales with the AI tools that cost like fraction of the time, fraction of the cost that the full-time employee would, and keep their current personnel. So everything from I'm meeting, for example, so here's an example. Let's say I meet you at the event, Joe, and I don't know you, right? So I'm shaking hands with you, giving me the business card. I literally can take that business card, take a screenshot, and it's in my CRM already. And as I'm standing and still talking to you, I can quickly send a message that lands in your email. Already right there, warm welcome. I already do my first touch, just while still shaking hands with you. Then now that contact is in my customer lead system, now I basically have AI help me to nurture that lead. So find everything about them that I could find on the internet, right? So I get familiarize myself with that customer. So I can craft them personalized messages. So I can craft my outreach them. And then after that is, let's say client onboarding. That's very important first impression that any business could make, right? Let's say you want to work with me. So what would the process looks like? Most businesses scramble with manual processes. Now they have 25 people that have to involve within their process. Oh, this person, is about to work with us. We have to send them all of these contracts. Let's say maybe some type of an intake form that we need to. But now AI could speed all of that and clean all that process up. So now you could just open the Teams, on Microsoft Teams, and you can have your agent sitting in there and you can say, send Joe onboarding email, draft onboarding email for Joe. The workflow will start.
And so this AI will initiate a workflow for you. So send them an onboarding email, complete a form, etc. So it eliminates a lot of manual tasks. Like in a system like HubSpot, you'd have to go in and create some sort of workflow. You're saying that this AI tool could be set up to create, you can use this AI to create a workflow. And
That's
part
right.
of this workflow, send data to HubSpot. They can be, I assume there needs to be some sort of API integration in there.
So that's what we build. We build these AI agents, client onboarding AI agent, for example. And this is where the workflow connects to HubSpots, to Salesforce, to Go High Level, whatever they use for CRM. It also grabs your information from your SharePoints, your forms, your agreements, maybe. QuickBooks, it goes to QuickBooks and now generates invoice. Let's say the client, in my case, would be happy to do AI audit. So instead of me going into QuickBooks and creating that invoice, I just say to my agent, the agent already knows what my package looks like, what my onboarding AI audit package looks like. And it goes, collects that information and creates a draft for me. So instead of me flustering and going through all of these things, I can just have the agent and ready for me to review that draft.
Sounds good. And have there been any sales tactics with these AI chatbots that seem really promising? Like you said, submitting a templated email but fell flat, especially when these AI or tech tools like HubSpot were involved.
Yeah. So I would say the flat piece would be, again, when there are tools that I mean, I guess that comes from the integration standpoint where these tools don't have any backend access. But also, I would say I have good ones. I had clients come to me and they would use some proprietary voice AI agents that the system offers. Let's say they're a busy construction company, local construction company. Actually, that happened to me. So these softwares offer out-of-box voice agents. So most of the times, they promise, hey, just turn the button on and it's on and I will take all your calls, for example, from, come through your business and log them in the system and make sure I do booking calls for you, for booking your, say, appointments for you. And what happens is most of the times, business owners just turn the button on, but they don't really test it through. They don't really have the workflow set up properly. Where, okay, what happens when the person calls and now is talking to the AI bot that doesn't know clear information about their brand, about what they offer, hours that they work, or say how many people, what's the capacity that they work at, what locations they covered, like all of these personal and detailed information. And now they lost the sale. That literally happened because somebody called in and they provided the wrong information. Here's the thing, AI cannot think fast on their feet yet. So one thing is when you chat, another thing when you actually talk to the AI agent. Literally, like when you call it, it imitates as if like, calling the call center. It gives like that background sound, but it does really good job at capturing phone calls at basic kind of receptionist level. But ask it to do sales for you and ask it to kind of stay longer on the call. It cannot handle it yet. The models are not smart yet, but it will get improved. So I think this was one of the failed attempt where they just tried to turn the button on without the properly training the AI. And this is where, we come in and we train that model. We make sure we set up that workflow that talks to the internal systems. And now that client that called in is properly nurtured, is properly recorded, and converted into the customer.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of properly recording information, is there some sort of error catching system? Let's say the AI chatbot doesn't know. Can you get a list of customer asked this question, bot did not know, and then it's recorded like as an error, and then you can train it later?
Yes, that's why you have, and that's one thing, that these tools that come in with their CRM system, they don't provide audit logs. So audit logs is, first of all, before you onboard this AI agent, the voice AI agent, receptionist, you need to give it multiple examples. Okay, this is your script. If somebody calls about this, if somebody calls about this is what you respond to. And then you evaluate these calls. So you have audit logs and see how it performed. Did it provide the right information, or did it completely went off the track trying to ask their credit card information, for example, So this is where it's important to have the audit logs and monitor it and provide that feedback loop and fine tune the model so it responds properly.
Yeah, definitely a really helpful answer. Getting back into turning support into a growth engine, because we're talking about sales, have you seen examples where AI-powered support actually drove the revenue, whether it's through smart upsells, predictive assistance, or customer education?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Cross sales is so important because when customers talking to you, a lot of times we're not recording or not capturing or not analyzing what are they asking for. Is our product that we offered is missing certain or services, missing the nuance that our customers are asking for. And this is where AI could be great at collecting all that data from multiple sources, not just from not just say from one channel, from multiple channels, and analyze that data. And now, okay, you have these type of customers coming to you. These are their categories. Let's say this is their demographic. This is their age. This is their interest. Let's say their educational level. And let's say this is their location. Based on these categories, these are the products that they like to buy, and this is how long they stay with us. So we actually did this predictive analytics for a tech company that we helped with analyzing all their data and actually figuring out the predictive churn. Which customers are going to churn in the next 2 months, basically with the threshold of, with the possibilities of 70% and higher, for example. And these are their criteria. So this is where AI shines, is gathering information, analyzing it, and also giving you actionable insights on it. And you can fine tune the strategy so you're not basically driving your business blindly.
And speaking of driving a business plan, any good business has to scale smart and self-service with AI. As businesses scale and self-service becomes essential, but it can be risky if the self-service is done wrong. what AI tools have helped reduce support tickets? I've used like Intercom, something like that.
Yeah. Service tickets actually a great example for AI because you'll have past history and you can have multiple AI agents that analyzing the service tickets. As I mentioned, for example, they'll be like, oh, these type of issues, this is how long and how many hours they've resolved and streamlining the communication across many different platforms. But at the same time, trying to fix those issues so they don't happen on a repetitive basis and providing insight on how they were fixed before. I think this is very critical because we find ourselves, and I see the companies do that all the time, just everybody's so busy and just trying to kind of patch work. Okay, I just fixed it, and that's kind of like it's done now. I don't have time to kind of look at root cause and do the entire data infrastructure engineering. And this is where you can use multiple agents that do the checklist. Okay, well, let's say this is the issue you fixed, but did you really fix it? Here's a checklist that you need to look before you even respond to your customers. So you even have like a supervisor AI agent that's going to be supervising response before it actually goes out to your customer. So instead of you having multiple people, so imagine that for you to have that, you would need to have a supervisor and a technician on place, right? Somebody who's looking over. But here you have multiple agents that could, one will aggregate the information, another one will provide a response, and third one will make sure that based on all of the stuff that he knows, like a top senior supervisor, he checks the response before it goes out for validity.
So you can use the agents to supervise one another.
That's right.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that you could have different, so the AI agents can have different escalation paths. So one agent for sales, one agent for technical support.
Yes. And they basically, and that's the entire framework around agents. So agents they work in the loop. They collect the information, they go back to supervisor, then pass. They go back and do their work and come back. So it's a whole thing is they able to reason and go through these, almost like a human.
Yeah, those AI agents are definitely becoming a lot more lifelike. I'm actually working with an accounting software company, and I have a Slack, and I wonder if it's an AI, or it's a real person, or it's actually a robot. I don't really know. So as a follow-up question, if your company's starting from zero, how should they? If you're working with a client, they're starting from their fresh start. How should they approach building an AI-powered self-service experience that's actually helpful?
This is such a good question, Joe. There's so many companies that blow up my mind, and nowadays they run billion-dollar companies with like 10 people. This is like a new reality now.
Didn't Instagram have like 20 people before it sold to Facebook?
Something like this, yes. So now this is a new reality. You can do so much more with AI, and you can have a key people. You still need a team, but you can just a productivity level, they will have supervisor, each of them, marketing supervisor, sales supervisor, customer management, so every human will have multiple, let's say, secretaries that are specialized in their field that help them to achieve their tasks faster. They will go do that research for them. They will go put together the research in a format that's easy to digest for them. They will go put together, let's say, some type of a template or communication back, and go crawl multiple sites. Like early days before AI. Remember, I just want to ask you a question, Joe, as well. Like you told me your story, how you started with Connex. Back then, how much time did it take you to learn things on your own?
It took a great deal of time. It took me many years to build Connex and write the code. Even in my Visual Studio, the software that I use to write Connex, it'll ask me to finish code sentences, or it'll highlight things and say there's a better way of saying this. So the code will actually, it'll look at this like an error code, and I'll click on something and it'll press tab and say, do you mean to say this? I'm like, yeah, push tab twice and it fixes things. So it definitely, just in Visual Studio alone, for software developers, it's helping me finish sentences before I write them or fix things.
Yeah, and nowadays it's just 10 times, 100 times faster. And what I would say is, so the question is, where would somebody need to start? And I would say literally pen and paper, or just writing down what are you providing, what is your process from beginning to end for you to ship your service or product. Who are the people that are responsible at that chain that you start, from the moment you meet a prospect to the moment that they you onboard them, to the moment you start putting together something for them. Like, who are the people that are involved in that process, and what is the exact steps? What systems are you using? Let's say, what does the workflow look like? And then All right, what can be automated here?
Yeah, I was talking to another colleague of mine. Like, we work with a lot of wholesalers, have them write down, like, this is my workflow process and what can be automated, and then how much is it paying, how much time and money are they spending on this process,
Yeah.
and then work out a price that I'm like, if it costs you $50,000 a year to solve a problem and I give you a $10,000 solution, I'm giving you a 5x return on investment.
That's exactly what AI is doing here, is looking at these processes. And here's another even thing. You just mentioned something. It's risk and reward, right? Well, how much money did we invested in ourselves before we start making any dollar amounts, right? It's probably,
Yeah, tens of thousands of dollars in colleges and high school and all that.
yes, exactly. So with AI though, you just mentioned that one use case scenario where we'll say, well, my solution's gonna cost, let's say, 10 grand and I'm saving you like 5 times, right? But here's one thing. This is just a nominal amount. That solution of 10,000 is gonna bring more revenue. So even like it will save the money, but it will also generate more money. And I think when I talk to the business owner, this is something I want to change the perspective on. When they look at the price tag of AI and they're like, oh, I have to look at my processes, right? I have to evaluate them and we have to create workflows and make sure that we nail this process down. Like there's so much like work around it. But the opportunity, it's not that you just saving the cost, that you constantly have to hire somebody, and that person, let's say, changes jobs, goes somewhere else. You have to, again, hire them, and you don't have any standard operating procedure. Even if you do have one, every time you scale, it changes, right? Now, that one-time cost that you pay is giving you money, like forensic, basically. The future money that it's bringing into your business that a lot of times is overlooked at. That's a huge potential there.
So going back into with any business's trust and retention and growth, can you give us an example of any touch points that had other systems like a HubSpot but now use AI, such as what has AI replaced?
Admin work. I would say that's number one. Is a lot of every role has some type of admin work in them. Like, someone that's doing research, someone that's trying to put together email, someone is trying to register somewhere. It's AI. Email. Let me just talk about a little thing that I have. Like I have an email AI agent on my emails. So every minute it works and it sorts out my emails in certain buckets consistently. So I don't know if you have that, sometime when somebody emails you, you have this like a golden rush. It's like, oh, okay, who's emailing me? Just like kind of see. And it's so much distraction that is unnecessary. And also you look at your emails and it's like, oh my God, you have to sort it out so much. Now you have this one tool that saves about almost over 4 hours a week of your time and also gives you clarity as well, which just sorts your emails in appropriate buckets and tells you, okay, this is your review bucket. This is where your attention goes to.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely very interesting that, the AI is replacing certain things, like a lot of the admin tasks. So looking ahead, if you had a magic wand and you could fix one thing about how tech companies are using AI and support, and you mentioned training models or AI and support or sales, what would you change? Maybe talk more about like the models and training.
Yes, absolutely. I think if I had a magic wand, I definitely would want models to be more accurate in the less amount of time. Because when we work with clients, there are a lot of times like, oh, I really am excited about this project and I want it to work, but it takes a lot of time sometimes especially if you have large amounts of data, you have multiple sources, multiple systems that you're trying to that AI agent access and interpret and process and kind of give you the information in a, say, rapid way. It's just time that it takes to train these models and also the accuracy. Because if you look at ChatGPTs, right? If you look at Geminis, these companies spend billions, right, in making these models accurate. So all of us, they still hallucinate. We all seen it. I mean, I've seen ChatGPT, hallucinate, provide the incorrect answers often. However, they become better and better each time. And you've probably noticed as well how they come up with the new releases, right? Often there is always new model. Why? Because they collect our feedback. That's what they do. They have this thumbs up, thumbs down. Have you seen this option?
I have, yes, on ChatGPT. If you ask how to integrate QuickBooks Enterprise and Shopify, we come up as one of the responses. So definitely a thumbs up.
That's right. And that's what I'm saying. So each time the model is learning, it's collecting so much data. So Each time they have a new model that's better than the other one. And I think when now these models I use, well, the people ask me questions often, well, how come ChatGPT knows it so well? Well, here's the thing. ChatGPT makes it look like it knows it so well, because it's so broad. But once you start introducing your context data and you started training on it, that's when you really see the value. But however, the process of training is just going to take longer, because even if you ask compute, right, there's another one that I would say, compute power. Especially when it comes to, let's say, models that most companies, some of the companies like in healthcare or financial services.
So with CPU usage, the more data that has to look, the more CPU you need, correct?
That's correct, exactly.
So if you could take a model and you could make it smaller, you need less CPU. I was actually on the phone with an AI company today, and I said, we offer these analytics about, like, this is a list of your products. This is the percent of your income that these products revenue generate. This is the number of days you have left of stock. This is the velocity. And it's in one table, and it's only maybe 100 rows.
Yeah.
It would take a lot less CPU to go through 100 rows than it would be to go to Amazon, QuickBooks, Shopify, take all the data, merge it in. That's just a lot more work. So having a report kind of ready-made and then having an AI just look at a ready-made report and just refresh it would be a lot less CPU usage.
Exactly. Then also not only that, you have to train that AI to know the relationship between these systems, right? So it needs to know the back-end information about them. So you're absolutely right. When you have some type of a dashboard that's already has all the pre-calculated fields and KPIs that you're showing, it's much more predictable. But when you're exposing AI agent to all these systems and now, like, you can ask me anything, right? It will get like bounce off the walls. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much data here. Like, what do I provide answers on? And if you ask it to make some type of those calculations, averages or sums, right? It has to go crawl everything and go summarize it and make sure it's summarized right. Make sure it didn't grab bananas instead of apples. Just kind of giving you examples here. And I think my magic one would be, say again, for healthcare companies, for financial services, for maybe some even law companies, right? Where their data is much more regulated, how it's processed. They cannot have the models that work through the internet. They need to have locally hosted models. And this is where it comes to, they need to make sure they have powerful compute powers. And that could get expensive. And So this is where I just would I would wish that everybody would have opportunity to use the potential of AI at affordable cost.
And so my final question for today, and thank you for letting us know about the cost of AI and CPU. If businesses want to use AI to transform customer experience, what mind shift is required?
So I would say the mind shift should be, I don't like to say that, but here's the truth. Your customers are probably doing it. And if you're not getting on board on it, adopting and putting the training in place and being open-minded about it, probably businesses will not be able to keep up. Because what I just said about these models is that businesses that have capital, businesses that have that, I would say, desire to stay innovative, to provide a quicker turnaround, to increase their sales, and they know the power of it, they're utilizing it. So their revenue, their output is much larger, and the volume, their market rate would become also larger. So there's just no way around it. So you either adapt or you fade. There's no other way. I mean, there's no other way to sugarcoating it. It's the reality that we live in right now.
Yeah, the AI will become more important and more widely used as time goes on, and so we'll just have to, get used to it, and I'm sure it'll be used even more and more. That's all the questions that I have for today. Fia, I want to thank you very much for being on my podcast. And we are hosting a networking event in a couple of weeks, and we'll see you there. And you'll be also on our panel to talk more about AI. But yeah, it's been really informative for me, teaching me a lot of new ideas and things about the AI space.
Thank you, Joe, for having me.
All right. Well, see you later. Bye-bye.